It is the Frank and Friends show. Hi there, I'm Frank Murphy.
And I'm friends. Actually, I'm Avi McCullah.
You are my friend, and you've been my friend for a very long time.
That's true.
Delighted that you're here. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
I was just thinking the other day that we don't have enough Avi on the show.
That's true.
Because we've had 0 so far, and now we've got some.
So that means your Avi has increased by 100%. So good for you.
Yeah, we just added to the stack. So I was just thinking right before we came on that if I can get even 1/10 of your fanatic expensive watch fans that you used to have from the shopping networks to tune in, then I'll be like go viral. It would be huge.
There are a lot of watch collectors out there.
Avi used to sell watches on ShopNBC. You'd have to fly to Minnesota for that.
Yeah.
That must have been brutal.
Honestly, the flying was great. There was 1 month in particular where I think I spent 4 days at home and they weren't consecutive days. That part was brutal. So
oh my gosh.
I would have 2 sets of luggage, 2 sets of clothing because there wasn't time to unpack one, by the time I packed another. So.
Oh, wow. Well, welcome to the podcast Ponderosa.
Thank you.
You're here. We've got, of course, our Frank and Friends merchandise. I love to show off the soft, luxurious beach towel.
Oh, this is plush.
With the plush logo on there. You can enjoy that. You can get this on our website, frankandfriendsshow.com/store.
Frank, this is a really nice towel.
I know. It's from, there's a company called Teespring that makes these things, and they made the mugs. And, I mean, there's all sorts. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff on the store. You can get T-shirts and sweatshirts and hats and drinkware, pint glasses. So that's one of the things I'm hoping to do is sell more merch so that I can take the small profit that you make from it and just use it to buy more merch. I'm just going to reinvest it into the show. Yeah. But speaking of investing in the show, we made it to 700 subscribers on YouTube, which is huge.
Round of applause.
We need 1,000 because you get to 1,000 and then you can start doing things. You can add a merchandise shelf to your YouTube. You can start maybe going live. You can maybe start monetizing. You can do things. So if you can help us, I think Tuesday, Jeff Detro was here. Hall of Fame radio disc jockey Jeff Detro, and he said, here's our goal, 1,000 subscribers by Christmas. I'm trying to do his beautiful voice, but I don't think I can do it. Yeah. 1,000 by Christmas, and I think that's reasonable.
I think so too. I think you could do it before Christmas.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, we made it to 7. It's been less than 2 years to get to 700. We're at what would be? You've got kids. What's a month less than 2 years? 23 months, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how long it's taken us to get to 700 subscribers.
But I feel like it's a snowball thing, right? So like the snowball starts little, and then once you get it in the mountaintop, it's like, it's all
what an
right?
analogy.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, you got this.
So
you
go
1,500, 2,000 in the back.
So subscribe on YouTube, smash that button. If you want to very gently and lightly for Renee, who's bell sensitive, smash the button for notifications. Like that. It's practically that.
Covered my mic for you, Renee.
It's practically that creepy talking that people do. ASMR.
Yeah.
That grosses me out. I can't handle it. Can't handle it. It's too much. Makes my ears hurt. You, Avi, are here during fig season.
Yes.
Do you enjoy a fig?
I love a fig. Because
figs grow mainly in tropical climates, and I think of you as, exotic.
I am tropical, that's for sure. So I saw a meme the other day that said, if you keep the house above 72, don't invite me to your terrarium, kind of a thing. I'm that person.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, I know. Well, I feel like air conditioning is so cold. I always have to dress for wintertime.
Well, then if it gets too cold, let me know and I will adjust it because I deliberately dropped it down a few degrees because I've had guest co-hosts who were having hot flashes and...
Not that old, Frank.
No, I'm not. It wasn't you, obviously. So I had set that down for them.
No,
I personally get hot just setting up all the stuff because I've got on, 1, 2, 3, 4 extra lights that I wouldn't necessarily have on when I'm over there doing the radio show for Lake FM. I turn off all the lights.
Yeah.
And sometimes I still get too hot, and I end up, trying to, strip down to sometimes. Well, let's not talk about that.
This is a different show.
Because it's radio and it doesn't matter what I'm wearing.
Well, so to your point, I am much like a fig. I enjoy the heat. I enjoy tropical climates.
Well, that's a good point about the figs. They do like it hot and they like it sunny. So you can't really see that I've got an unusual floral arrangement. I've got my normal succulent from the funeral bouquet that I've mentioned a few times. It's been 2 years since my mother passed, but I got that flower and I managed to keep it alive. So, thumbs up. Well, These are figs, which are also flowers. Did you know that?
I did not.
Figs are not fruits. They're technically flowers. So why do I have this weird-looking monstrosity of a floral arrangement? Well, it's mainly because of this one right here. I had an accident when picking figs, and it happens frequently, is you pull down on a branch to get that perfect fig that you think is so great, and the branch just snaps off in your hand.
No.
So this particular branch was loaded, and so I chopped it up into pieces and I put them in water. And this one here is plumping up and starting to turn color. So I'm thinking my plan that they're just flowers, let them bloom, might work. And what's the worst that'll happen?
Yeah.
Is nothing. And then I just take all the sticks and I bury them and grow new fig trees from them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Sustainability.
Yeah, so this is why this has been added into the, back here with poor old Mo.
I feel like I have two sons. They're almost 2 and almost 4. I feel like they're going to be traumatized by figs because I've lied to them about figs.
You just give them fig Newtons? Because that's
Okay.
a bad representation. I mean,
It is. No, this is like a natural brand of a fig bar, right? So,
like you get it. I've seen those.
yeah, they're
at,
organic.
Like,
I know it's a bad representation, but here's where the lie comes in, okay? I call them Pop-Tarts because I don't let my kids have Pop-Tarts, and at some point they had one and they were young enough to where I could kind of divert them. So now when they ask for a Pop-Tart at home, they get a fig bar. And so I feel like there's going to be some like deep-seated psychological trauma affiliated with figs because of this.
Well, just call them Pops.
Call them Pops. I could, yeah.
So would you like a fig?
I would love one.
Because I have some that I've picked. Look at this bowl of figs that I've picked.
Do you realize I've never even seen one in person?
Wait a second, I'm not done yet. Oh, in case you want one from this bowl, you could also.
This is so weird.
You could have one from that bowl.
Well,
if
I
you
don't
want.
know how to pick a good one.
Well, hang on a second, because you also could maybe pick one from this bowl if you want. So this is
Frankenfigs.
That's what it is. So I pick a lot of figs, and I've been picking about 60 a day this first week of August. So each one's going to be a little different in flavor profile. What I would try is one that is dark and tight, if you will. See,
So
like
not this
like.
one. Okay.
Oh, no, you should try that one too.
Oh, okay.
But I'm saying
Why? Because I touched it? Is
No,
that-
it doesn't matter. I can wash them again. They're all going to get boiled.
Okay.
The ones we don't eat are going to get boiled and turned into jam.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter. My point being that the ones that look kind of swollen and opening up, they've taken in a lot of rainwater, so they're going to be juicier but not quite as intensely sweet. So that one might taste like a sugar cube.
Really?
Well, try it. I mean,
Do I just like bite into it anywhere?
if it were me, I would pop the whole thing in my mouth. But you can do anything you want. You just take a bite. Actually, do take a bite.
Okay, because that's
Because I want you to see the inside of the flour on the inside.
Oh wow.
Show that. You see how it's pink, and it's an inverted flower. So the flower is all inside, and it eventually, if you leave it on the tree and the birds don't eat it, it'll eventually just burst open and rot and let for the for the bugs.
It's really nice.
Yeah, to me, I think of, and I like sugary oatmeal, like with brown sugar on it. So that's what I think of. Is I think of like a really sweet brown sugar oatmeal, because it's got the sweetness, but it's got that kind of odd, soft, mushy texture of cooked oatmeal.
You're not making it sound appealing.
Oh, it's
Soft,
still
mushy.
all right.
No, there is. It's like a fleshy
Yeah.
kind of fruit, and it is soft. I like the seeds. I like the crunch.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Those fig seeds will. They're well. I was at a meeting last night, and it was a nonprofit organization, right? And one of the chair lady of the organization was traveling, so she was going to be coming in on Zoom, and maybe one other member. But the rest of us are all sitting in the conference room, and it's time for the meeting to start. So I bring in a Tupperware I brought in about 2 dozen figs, figuring there's enough, that should be more than enough for everyone in the room to get 2. So I didn't bring in like the 60 pounds of figs like these. I'll leave them nearby in case you want more. You can feel free to grab some. Okay. But so I brought in 2 dozen figs for everyone to have if they wanted. And I'm offering them up, but the lady on the Zoom, it's time for the meeting to start, right? So she starts saying, well, it's 6:01 p.m. We're going to call a meeting to order, and she's talking. But a guy that I'm sitting next to, who's one of the senior members, and by that I mean, he's older than me, And he's a lawyer, and he just starts telling me in his lawyer voice, "You know about figs, don't you? You know they have a laxative effect, don't you? I was in court one time, sitting there, eating figs, and we went into this hearing, 2.5-hour hearing. No, I can't get up and leave."
Oh my
And he's about to get, he's at the cliffhanger point of here he is in court. He's been eating figs. The judge won't let him out of the room. And then my eyes go wide because the lady is really mad on the Zoom.
Right.
And I cast a glance over there, and he's like, "Oh, sorry." And I never heard the end of the story.
You never did? Oh my God.
I can only imagine that he was doing, intestinal somersaults because he ate too many figs.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason I love them. This is the only time of year that I can safely eat cheese.
Oh,
because cheese and figs, you see, have opposite effects on me.
I was actually talking to somebody about taking probiotics. His response was, "Let thy food be thy medicine." And I was like, oh, okay, all right. But I mean, it's a
so you're dating a medieval barber?
I am.
What is going on?
Yeah, bearded and all.
Well, I hope you like it.
I'm going to try this one.
This one will be a little different. It'll be a little more, maybe a little less sweet because it's absorbed more rainwater. And it's maybe a little softer, possibly.
The flavor, it tastes like something else, and I can't place it.
Okay. Well, this is one variety of figs. These are called brown turkey figs, which are fairly common, lower on the fig tier, if you will.
Yeah.
Because they grow easily in a climate like this where you don't have to be super tropical. The ones that would grow over in the Middle East or in Greece or Mediterranean areas or in the tropics are more delicate and would die when it freezes. So there's a few that are cold hardy.
That's me, by the way. I am that fig.
You're cold hardy?
No, I die. I die when it freezes.
So this is one that would survive. So as a result, maybe you lose a little, but it's a great fig for boiling and making jam because you add sugar. The recipe is 3 cups of figs, 3 cups of sugar, and a box of lemon jello.
What happens if you don't add sugar?
I don't know, because even on fig preserves, you still add sugar. And it's just figs and sugar, and you boil it down until it's thick. We did that the other night, and we failed miserably.
How do you fail at that?
Well, it was the first time. Someone sent us the recipe. I put on Facebook that I was going to do the figs plus sugar plus lemon jello recipe. And an author, Renee Winchester, who's over in North Carolina, and she's got a little farm. And she says, "You can't do that. Don't do that. I'm sending you a different recipe." So it was, I think it was 7 cups of figs, 3 cups of sugar, and the juice of a whole lemon. And you just boil it down until it gets to the right consistency. Well, my wife and I didn't know what the right consistency was. Oh. So we think it looks good, but as soon as it cools, it turns into a rock. We've made rock candy with figs in it. So we boiled too much water out of it because I was reading articles saying, remember, these are loaded with water. You got to do something. You got to get the water out. So it still with sugar. I don't know what would happen if you removed the sugar. I don't know.
I'm trying to avoid processed sugars. I'm
not
necessarily
it's clearly bad for you.
Good at it. Yeah, but if they're already loaded in sugar, it's just a curiosity question. I just wonder if you can make it without no sugar added fig jam.
There must be a way.
Right.
There has to be a way because, like you said, the figs are certainly sweet enough. I think, but their season is so short.
Yeah.
And they don't. Once you pick them, they stop ripening. They just start dying. So you've got to move them through pretty quick. I think that's why people make preserves. But I think you can freeze them. I was going to try that. See if I can just freeze them whole and then see what happens when they thaw out. They might turn to mush. They might, I don't know.
Could you make fruit leather with them?
These are so many good questions. I have to look up. What is that?
Okay, so it's basically like the all-natural fruit roll-up, but it's when, you puree a fruit and you lay it out on a cookie sheet, and then you bake it for X amount of time, I think usually at 200 degrees for a long period of time.
Well, seems reasonable.
And then it becomes this kind of leathery...
Yeah.
You can cut it into strips for kids or for a snack.
Well, you say it's a puree, though.
Yeah.
And it somehow sticks together when you cook it?
Yeah, it dehydrates it, but to the point where it becomes like a pliable kind of, they call it fruit leather, and that's a good name for it. So imagine like a soft beef jerky, but it's made out of fruit.
I used to be in a band called Soft Beef Jerky.
That's So funny. I would actually pay money to see that.
I was watching Adam Ragusa, who's a YouTube chef, the other day, and his current video was about taking peaches. He tried to smoke some peaches to see if he could preserve them that way, but he was basically making beef jerky with a steak and over a slow fire in his backyard by drying it with the smoke, but not the heat. He was far enough away from the fire. He was trying to recreate this primitive food processing thing. He built a triangle out of sticks, put a cloth over it, put the smoke in there. It was interesting.
That's cool.
So he was making beef jerky, but I would have just eaten the steak probably as is.
Right.
Yeah, it looked good.
I don't know though. There's something to be said. I want to learn like all of those old sustainability trades. Like I don't know how to can anything, and that's something that keeps me awake at night. Like I need to know how to do this.
Can I tell you that I also was intimidated by that, and I thought it would be easier just to eat all the figs off the tree rather than learn how to can them.
Yeah.
Because first of all, why do they call it canning?
It's in a jar.
Right. So you'll notice over there, I don't know if you can see over there, we bought 2 new cases of mason jars.
Yeah.
Because we gave away enough mason jars last year with fig preserves in them. And I would give you some, except it's half sugar, so now I feel guilty. So I won't. But it was not as hard as I thought. Because basically, first reason it's not as hard as I thought is because my wife did the bulk of the work. Second reason it was not as hard is you basically, you take the food, you whatever it is you're preserving, and you cook it. And then, meanwhile, you've sterilized these jars, in a big pot of boiling water. You've got this big pot of water, and you put the jars in, and you sterilize them, and then they come out, and you put the cooked stuff into the jar, and you put the lid on, and then it goes back into the boiling water. Okay? So in the course of that, the air inside the jar heats up and goes out through that loose part of the lid. So there's like 2-piece lids. There's a little flat piece and a so you don't screw it on super tight. You put it on just enough, and the air and whatever else happens just kind of heats up and escapes and bubbles out. And then the water pressure holds the lid on, and then when you take it out, after it's been in there boiling for whatever long enough, you take it out, the metal of the lid contracts because as it cools and it makes a noise, it goes like, when you open one of those things and it pops,
seal,
it makes the opposite noise, or it makes the same noise actually, when it's doing the opposite procedure.
That's cool.
When it's shrinking down and popping in, that's how you know. In fact, so I would be sitting here, my wife would go to bed last summer, and I'd be sitting here working on the podcast, or I was trying to write a book, what all these things I was doing. And I would just sit up doing the crossword puzzle, anything, listening for all the cans to pop. And my job was to check on them. And of all of the ones we did, there's one that we bought it on Amazon. It was a bad lid, so it never popped. So it was a fail. So guess what we had to do with that one?
Eat it.
The next day, it was fine.
That's cool.
Let's put it right in the fridge. So that's
my medieval barber that I date. He actually pickles onions and makes his own pickled jalapenos and things like that.
Is it the same process where you do it in boiling water to seal, to vacuum seal?
I consume the goods.
I think that's it. I think they just, whatever it is you put in the jar, you then have to boil it. And I wonder, now, of course I'm thinking about this, because I once watched a video from the great Huell Hauser, who you wouldn't know, because unless you lived in California. You did ever?
I did for a little while, yeah.
But probably not long enough to become a fan of the Huell Hauser program on the public broadcasting out there.
Yeah, no.
He was the student body president at UT Knoxville, gets into broadcasting, goes to New York, goes to Nashville, New York, LA, ends up with his own show on the PBS station out there, right? So he's the fish out of water. He's the Tennessean who is in love with California and loves everything about it, and it's just wide-eyed in wonderment, right?
Yeah.
Wow. He went to an avocado farm, and he's like, well, would you look at that? It's an avocado-eating dog. And there's memes in California, avocado-eating dog, because that's not how they talk out there.
Right.
Well, I've not been able to find the episode online, but one that made an impression, I think it was one of the first ones I saw that kind of locked me in as a fan of Huell Hauser, is he and his cameraman Louis would go to these places. They would go to the milk bottling factory. They would go to some museum. They went to a tuna canning plant. And Yule was amazed that they put raw tuna into the cans and then process the can. And he's like, well, would you look at that, Louie? The tuna cooks right in the can. They cook the tuna in the can. Get a shot of that, Louie. They cook the tuna in the can.
That's so great.
And that's how I remember. That's how I know. That's everything I know about tuna canning right there in one sentence.
I had no idea. I didn't know that either.
Right.
That's astounding.
It's something. Now, I suppose, Avi, that if I really wanted to learn more about a topic, I could search Audible and listen to an audiobook about it, because they've got tens of thousands of titles, every conceivable topic. Every week new audiobooks are coming out. They now have podcasts, including ours. They have custom audio entertainment that they're creating just for Audible, whether it's comedy shows, maybe some improv. We'll talk about that in a minute. Maybe drama. There's just a wide variety. I think the last time they added it up, it would take 300 plus years to listen to everything that's on Audible. So they assume that you're not going to make it that long. But you do get to pick and choose and listen to anything you want, which is probably why you want the Premier membership to Audible. And when you sign up at audibletrial.com/FrankandFriendsShow, you can try out that Premier membership for free for 1 month. And every Premier member, every month, you get 1 credit for an MP3 download. So as an Audible member, you would listen to streaming whatever is on there. But if you want to keep it for yourself forever, you would download it as an MP3 using your monthly credits. So just get the monthly credit. Find, in my opinion, the longest audiobook that you can get for 1 credit. Some are so
That's what I do.
Some are so long they take 2 credits.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
you want to get your money's worth.
Exactly. I want to make sure it's read by the author and it's as long as humanly possible. Those are my 2 stipulations.
So, and you listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's funny because sometimes when I'm looking for videos to watch, I'll choose the opposite. I'm like, oh, that one's too long. I got a much shorter one.
I know. But when it comes to audiobooks, like I really want to delve in, especially like I love that Audible has unabridged versions of things. So, I'm not getting the Cliff's Notes version. I can enjoy the whole book. And actually, I only signed up for Audible because I like badges. You get badges for doing certain things, like listening for so many days in a row. I just do it for the prizes.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, good. So as an Audible member, you can certainly attest to that, because I think it's gotten better. I mean, if you think about the early days of audiobooks, when they were on tape or on CD, they probably were limited by, the number, you only can fit so much stuff. Yeah. But with Audible Online, it's infinite. Yeah, the book can literally be, like you said, as long as it takes to read. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether it's 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever it is.
I love it. I love having my library on there. And are you I finish one book and then I move on to the next kind of person, or are you like me and you're like in the midst of 7 books at once?
Oh, no, I tend to savor it a little bit,
really?
And put a little bit of a pause in between. But I understand what you're saying, because I certainly would always have stacks of physical books that I was never quite finished with any of them. Yeah. So it makes sense. But you can just pop back and forth.
Exactly, and Audible will save your place.
Across devices too.
Exactly.
So if you've got the Amazon devices in the house, or whether you use the app on your phone, or whatever it is you're using when you're driving around listening to it through your the CarPlay on your car, it remembers exactly where you are, syncs it up.
Did you know you can make clips too and send them to your friends? Or?
Send me a clip.
I will.
I would like that. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, you can record a little schniblet of.
A schniblet?
Yeah, the book, and send it.
Ladies and gentlemen, finally, the word schniblet has been used on our program. It's taken us 71 episodes, and as you know, we've been waiting, so say the secret word, schniblet, and you get to be a guest host. So congratulations, Avi McCullah. You said the secret word.
Well, yeah.
That's fantastic. I wish we had an extra $100 to split between us, which is a reference you are probably too young to get. audibletrial.com/FrankandFriendsShow. Look up a book on Groucho Marx, and you'll understand what I just said. He had a show called You Bet Your Life. And there was a secret word that the audience knew, but the contestants didn't know. So they would come out, it was supposedly a quiz show. Yeah. But they would come out and interview with Groucho, and then he would ask them some questions. And if during the course of their interview they happened to accidentally say the secret word, the duck would come down from the ceiling, and they would win $100.
That's cool.
To split between them, which is $50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I love comedy. I love Groucho as an influence on me, because, I would go back. I was obviously not around in the 1920s and 30s, despite what many of you may think, to watch. But when I was a kid, cable TV was in its infancy, so they would run a lot of old shows. Even the broadcast channels would just run old stuff. So you'd end up watching the same Batman, Gilligan's Island, Munsters, Addams Family, and then on the weekends or at night, they'd show the same Abbott and Costello movies, Marx Brothers movies, so on and so on, whether it's Bowery Boys, all these different ones. And so I became a huge Groucho fan, and I would love to watch these old reruns at 11 o'clock at night. I was supposed to be in bed, and I'd be watching You Bet Your Life on regular TV. So all of these things that are in my brain. And, the reason you and I ever met was because of comedy.
Mm-hmm, that's right. I started going to the improv shows, and that would have been early 2000s?
Yeah.
2002,
That's when I started in the troupe, was 2002.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was back at Patrick Sullivan, so literally 20... You're not old enough for me to have known you 20 years.
That's true.
Well, you're a sorceress of some kind.
It's also true.
So so you would come to the shows, and that was before you got into broadcasting, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Then what after that? I know you've done, it seems like everything you've done has involved, like when you had a job at a real estate company for a while, but you were the face of the real estate company doing videos.
Yeah, I always end up on TV, which is so funny to me. Even this, Frank's like, oh, you be on my podcast, P.S. it's on camera. I'm like, of course it is, it's always on camera. Actually, I don't like being on camera. It makes me really self-conscious.
It's funny because there was let's tell the story of what was the name of that show we did?
Oh, was it SMOMO TV?
Was it SMOMO TV? Because it changed names so many times.
Yeah, it did.
It changed names so many times. There was
Smoky Mountain Television.
A project that I show up when it was called, I think it first was called Smoky Mountain Morning or something like that. And our friend Jim Johnson is involved. He's running the camera on it. And they've got a couple of other people who were new to the concept.
Yeah.
And I showed up not even intending to be on camera that day. I just was there to see the beginning of it. And they're like, why don't you go do something? Like, oh, okay. But I said, we don't have a script or anything. And Jim's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So they send me over. We're at this visitor center in Townsend, Smoky Mountain Visitor Center. And I'm standing up there in front of an old cabin. And I think, well, I better think of something. So I'd make up, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park is the only national park where admission is free. It was at the time. You have to pay to park. But it's blah, 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 blah. I just say that, whatever's in my head, whatever trivia I have in my head about the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, I spit it out. And everyone kind of looks at me like, oh, like the people who are new to this whole concept, they're like, oh, and they're looking a little like, and Jim says, can you do that again? I'm thinking, what's wrong with it?
Yeah.
What's wrong? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I thought it was fine. Can you do that again while you're also walking?
Yeah.
Can you talk and walk at the same time? I'm like, yeah. Why not? Who can't?
Right.
And Jim gets this look like, he's looking at the other people.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. So I do it, and next thing you know, I'm involved in this project, and then it changes names and it changes concepts. And they had me go to Market Square one day. We're trying to find a co-host, and I had these lovely women who were involved in the local art scene, and they're just, we're trying it and doing it, and it just, none of them were into it. It wasn't fun for them, and the guy in charge, Taz, says, you got to think of somebody else. I said, well, I've got somebody in mind, but she's too good for us. We'll never get her.
That's so funny.
She's on shopping networks. She's a professional. And he says, who is it? And I said, well, yeah, it's Avi. I mean, she's lovely. Everything about her is fantastic. He said, well, ask her. So I asked her. And then next thing you know, we're standing in some closet inside an extra spare room they had at the brochure distribution services, way back behind Gatlinburg. It's like if Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge had a backstage.
This would be it. We're in the green room.
We're back there, and I found one of the old videos, and the lighting is poor.
Oh, yeah.
Everything about it. And it's funny, I was so excited, right? Because for me, I want to be on TV. I want to be on camera. And I'm like, I'm going to get makeup. And I didn't know anything about it. So you, are, every time I put on makeup, every time I put on bronzer, and I've been on TV quite a lot since that day, because obviously I got the Scholars Bowl show at PBS, the Up Close show at PBS, I go on Channel 6, I go, I put on some bronzer to go on, right? every time I think of you because you're the one who told me how to do it.
Yeah, I remember that.
The secret, you remember, I think we went shopping together.
We might have, yeah.
And you said,
I remember picking out outfits with you.
Oh, geez.
Frank would bring several shirts and lay them.
It's like I did today, actually. This is one of my, Cecil Edward Manis, the late Cecil Edward Manis, Eddie Manis's dad, passed away, and they sold off a bunch of his shirts. So this is one of his estate sale shirts. And I had some around the corner for you to choose from, but when I saw that you were in red, I went with blue, so that...
Yeah, it's pink. That's okay.
Well, I mean,
this is why I pick out his shirts. Sorry,
that was good. No, we went to Walmart, I think, and you picked out some. You said, get some cheap bronzer, but an expensive brush.
Yeah.
That was your advice to me.
Yeah.
It still holds. See, look at that. Isn't that? It's nice to have friends.
Yeah. The application is more important than...
Does it look okay?
Yeah, it looks great. You look sun-kissed.
Well, it helps that I do actually have a real tan underneath.
Oh, yeah,
because
that
I've
is
been.
nice.
Guess what I've been doing?
Picking figs.
So many figs.
I know, look at this.
I've got to get more figs.
These things weigh a ton. By the way, they're delightful. I really enjoy them.
Well, we can make a to-go goodie bag for you, and put some. Yeah, make a container full.
I'll take some to the medieval barber tomorrow.
Oh, he might be excited about that.
He'd be very excited. You know, he is one of the few people, besides my own mother, whose pantries I open, and there isn't any food. There's just ingredients, which I've always found really perplexing because, like, I'm a snacky person. So I open up the pantry and I'm like, there's just things to make things. Where are the ready-made things? I don't understand. So. Well,
during the month of August in Tennessee, there's a sales tax holiday on what you just described. Ingredients.
Things to make things.
Things that are already made are not included. You still have to pay sales tax on that.
That's cool. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, it just started on August 1st and the whole month of August. So no candy, alcohol, tobacco, or prepared foods. It's just, the staples, I guess we used to call it, right?
Yeah. Like, you mean actual food?
Yeah.
I was reading this article last night, and it was talking about the differences in ingredients between the United States and the UK. Like, do you know how much more strict they are? So, like, you look at any food side-by-side
I know that my friend
comparison.
Bean is always complaining that he can't get the junk food that he likes over there.
Well, this is the thing about their junk food. It will be like 10 or fewer ingredients. So you look at like American Doritos versus UK Doritos, and they've eliminated like all of the nasty processed chemicals that we still allow.
Is it that they're not in the Dorito, or they're just not allowed to put them on the label?
No, they're not in the Dorito.
Oh my.
They're not allowed to put them in the Dorito.
Huh.
Yeah, their standards for health are
we need that.
I know. That's what I was thinking. I've really tried to go back to like a more natural, less processed thing because I feel like for your health in general, it's just important, especially like once you hit that 40, it's not. You can't just do all.
Your birthday's the day after mine. I'm not going to say anything. I know. I know when your birthday is.
Yeah. So I just turned 40 this year, and
congratulations.
Now it could be an upward battle, or it could be a lovely stroll, and I prefer a lovely stroll. So I'm going to try to get the food thing.
Well, that's a good way to wrap this episode. I mean, I'd love to chat more with you and hope you'll come back for another show.
I would love that.
Because you're just delightful in every way. And plus, I'll give you more figs if you come back. I'll remind you to go to our merchandise store to get things like, it's easier when it's folded. Forget it. Anyway, you get the towel. And
Can I tell you what I really like about this towel?
Yeah.
That the print goes all the way through the fibers.
Oh, yeah.
Do you see this? This is how I check a towel quality.
Oh, really?
Did you know that? Like, if it's a cheaply printed towel, the towel fibers, they'll just like print an image on top of it.
Yeah.
And then when you fan out the image, that color will dissipate.
Oh, I didn't know. So I think it's a two-ply towel, if you will.
Yeah.
Because it says that this front where they print is polyester, but the back is cotton.
But my point is do you see this? How all of the fibers are color? It's
I'm trying to show you.
Quality. That's what I'm telling you.
It's a nice towel.
It's a really great.
So you can get this or a shirt. The shirts are good. The sweatshirts are good. The hoodies. My wife loves
What
her.
kind of hats do you have?
A bucket hat.
Oh, okay.
I know.
No, they're really back in style.
I know. Yeah. They're odd to me. I think I have a picture of the bucket hat.
I always loved a good trucker hat.
Well, they said something about having new hats, so I'll have to take a look.
I feel like this logo on a trucker hat would be really sharp. I would wear it.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll try to find the bucket hat picture to show you. It's actually on that computer over there.
Cool.
But see if you want one. It's got kind of, it's hard to describe. I can put a picture of it up here, but it's like, I put the actual logo on the front, but then pieces of the logo are on all other parts of it.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
All right. So that's at frankandfriendsshow.com/store. And mainly, you can listen to us on any of the audio podcast apps. I don't know why you would listen without looking at Avi, but she doesn't want to be on camera, so.
It's the hair.
I would think it's got that Charlie's Angels look to it.
Thank you. That's what I was going for.
I mean, that is a high compliment.
I appreciate it.
You're too young to know what that is, are you?
No, I think it's so funny how you make assumptions about me. Look, I was the kid that when everybody was going to prom, I was going to the Ultimate Oldies concert. I lived in Atlanta at the time, and I got to see Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, Tommy James, and the Shondells. I mean, this is what I live for.
That's like me with the TV shows from before I was born. I would just absorb them and soak them up. All right.
So, I mean, you can talk 50s and 60s to me.
All right, because Charlie's Angels was 70s.
It was, but everything subsequently, I know.
Fantastic. Well done, then. So listen to on any of the audio podcast apps, and especially subscribe on YouTube. And if you think Avi's great, subscribe twice. Send a signal, send a message somehow by bringing our subscriptions even higher. As she said, the snowball that rolls downhill.
That's right.
All right.
Just collecting more subscribers as you go.
My friend Avi, appreciate you being here. It is the Frank and Friends Show. I'm Frank Murphy.
I'm Friends. I'm sorry, I'm Avi.
And we'll talk to you again next time.